Okay, so you have a lot of money, but you still feel like you're broke. This is something that I've encountered in my travels. Like, first time I met multi-millionaires was in the Middle East when I was 20, and people there had such concerns about losing money because the responsibility to have money when you're just a regular person trying to make a living, paying the rent, for example, feeding your children, whatever it is, it's stressful. And you feel like you're broke because you're not able to save up for their college tuition, for example. But that problem just compounds itself when you're got like millions, and all of a sudden that responsibility shifts from like you making having to make money for yourself or your immediate family to now I have to please the shareholders, right? Now the bank needs to be paid back, whatever it is. And it's compounded by the fact that you're dealing with millions. So more money, more problems, as they say. And that's true. I think from my personal experience, I've had that issue where, I grew up in poverty. And it's interesting. I saw this other guy say this a long time ago. And he said, look, it's good to think of it like you're broke, but you're not poor. But I was both broke and poor. And the difference between the two was that poverty is a mentality, right? You know what to do with your money when you get some. You have bills that are late or, you know, food to eat to buy. And when there's a little extra, you just want to enjoy yourself. You're not thinking about diversification and deference to the future and all these things that richer, more wealthy people understand about the nature of economics and how to build wealth. You're not thinking about those things because you have a poor mentality. That's poverty. And also being negative. And, my poverty extended so deep that I really thought that rich people were evil and stupid and, you know, and I was embarrassed, deeply embarrassed by my poverty. This is all poor mentality. So the trick is to realize that you're broke and to move forward with a rich mentality and that being broke is something that can happen. But the more interesting thing is when you have money and you're still feeling like you're broke. And that's what I wanted to get to here. I've met people, like I said, who are multimillionaires, and then I've met other people who are upper middle class. They're making 100 grand a year, which maybe is considered middle class nowadays. But in Europe, people making 100, 200,000, and that's like 3 or 4 times a regular person's salary, right? That's a lot. I would say that that's upper middle class. Either way, they still feel like they're broke because there's various reasons. Sometimes they're not managing their money well, right? Sometimes they're afraid for the economy, like the dollar is going to tank, and that's going to make my investments worthless or whatever it is. So you can feel broke and still have a bunch of money. And at the end of the day, where that poverty mentality comes in for people like that, if this is you and it sounds like you, I think the poverty in that is this idea, or the poverty in it is more so the fact that you're not really tapped into who you are and what really fulfills you. Like you're too focused on securing yourself and securing your assets and making money and not going broke. Whereas a lot of the people who are living hand to mouth day to day or just very like comfortable but not secured in any way, anything can happen. They get sick or, something happens and they lose their job and all of a sudden they're plunged into struggling and true poverty or being broke. And yet they're happy. They're not concerned with that. They're just living day to day and they feel fulfilled. And when things happen that makes it difficult, like here I live in the jungle, sometimes the power lines go down and it's the community around that has to pay for it, right? There's no government things around here. The infrastructure is taken care of by locals. So people come together and they deal with it as things come up. And they can't afford to be preventative either. Like, hey, let's invest now so that if it won't happen in the future and cost us more. Well, it's like, well, we don't have the money for that. So nobody thinks about it really. And they just find a way. So that's being rich. That's being rich in mentality. It's finding a way to deal with things, not irresponsibly so, like I'm not going to think about my money and my investments or my retirement, but thinking about it in such a way that it doesn't consume your whole life and that you're really enjoying the activities that are bringing you that money to begin with. I think that's like the answer, the solution for people that are going through that issue. And maybe that's really the only thing I can offer because I've never really had a lot of money myself, and that's okay. But I can tell you this, I've felt fulfilled and I feel fulfilled. And that's how I feel fulfilled, right? As I'm focusing on what brings me joy and fulfillment versus like what's securing me. Now, at the same time, I'm also needing to secure myself. So I'm trying to align the two. And what makes me feel fulfilled is helping other people and putting out ideas and frameworks, processes that can not just help people on an individual level, but if enough individuals integrate those ideas, that it'll have an impact on larger scales. And I realize that, being rich in mentality to achieve anything, not just making money, but doing the plans that I just expressed, means to focus on me, like start with me. It's very simple. If I'm calm, if I'm prioritized and clear and positive, then I can move forward feeling fulfilled, whether I have money or not, whether I have the resources or not, whether I see the effects or not. So whether this video kind of reached you or not matters less than the fact that I've actually made it. You understand? So that's really all I wanted to discuss and say about that. I'll see you in the next one.